Hello. As I said in the previous video, I was going to make a separate video about this album. This is Opeth's most recent release, 2019, so it's going on 4 years old now, which time flies, doesn't it? But pre-pandemic in Cauda Venenum, which apparently means the the sting is in the tail, or the poison is in the tail, I guess, like in reference to a scorpion. I've also seen it translated as the worst is yet to come, which I guess you could, in a kind of poetic translation, you could say the sting is in the tail, the worst is yet to come kind of match up. This is the extended version, extended edition. And this is put out on. Now, I've tried to kind of do a little bit of research about this, but it's all very fairly confusing. This is kind of 2022. So the original edition was released 2019. This extended edition, which has got the English version, the Swedish version, and also 3 bonus tracks, so 3 CDs, came out just last year in 2022. And you can see there it's through Atomic Fire. Atomic Fire is, I don't know exactly if it's part of Nuclear Blast or the guy who founded Nuclear Blast back in the late 80s, that German fellow, I don't know his name, he also started Atomic Fire. So maybe it's like a sub-label or like an imprint. And then within that, it's on Modul Blogget, which, where is it? Sorry, I should probably get the pronunciation right. Moder Bolaget, which I assume is Swedish. Moder Bolaget, which means parent company. Mother, Moder, I guess. Bolaget, company. Which is Opeth's own label. And again, that's under the auspices of Nuclear Blast / Atomic Fire / in the UK apparently it's also on Cobalt. Anyway, that's not really important, is it? So why did I buy this? I bought this new. I know this is a second-hand CD channel, and I typically don't talk about new CDs, but because I don't really buy that many new things nowadays, I thought I'd do a video on it anyway, just something different. Why did I buy it? I bought it because I've been a fan of Opeth since about Blackwater Park era, early 2000s. And I was a really, really big fan of Opeth through Damnation, Deliverance, and especially Ghost Reveries. So from about, 2003 to 2006, I'd say they were my favorite band. I've talked about this a little bit before. I've done a video on Sorceress. So they hold a big place in my musical history evolution. In the last 15 years, I'd say since Watershed, and certainly since Heritage. So Watershed was 2008, I think. Heritage was about 2011. I don't listen to them anywhere near as much as I used to listen to them. Not to say I don't like them, but it's just things change. I own all of their early albums: Orchid, Morning Rise, My Arms Your Hearse, Still Life, Blackwater Park, Damnation, Deliverance, Damnation, I can't remember which order it is. Ghost Reveries, Watershed. And then the newer ones, I own Heritage. I don't have Pale Communion, but I do have Sorceress and now Cauda Venenum. I don't have any of the live albums. I don't have the Roundhouse tapes or the one they did at Red Rocks, which is called Garden of the Titans or something like that. I did have the DVD of Lamentations, which they filmed at Shepherd's Bush probably about 20 years ago now. I'm trying to think if I have anything else of theirs. So I have most of their releases, you know. I think they also did the Royal Albert Hall DVD, which I've always wanted to get that, but I've never seen that around before. I don't even have a DVD player nowadays. So yeah, you could say I'm a pretty big fan of Opeth, and certainly in the past I was a huge fan of theirs. And so I kind of feel almost like an obligation to continue to follow them and at least listen to what they release. They released this, like I said, in 2019, so I'm buying it 4 years later. I didn't, when they first released this album, I heard I think it was the second single, which was Svegets Prince, which that translates to the Prince of Lies, but the English version is called Dignity. And I like that song. And I listened to the rest of the album, bits and pieces, over the last 4 years, but not really intently. But I saw this for sale when I was in the record shop the other day, which I talked about in the previous video, and it was $30 New Zealand for a extended edition with 3 discs. That's pretty good. And recently, well, not even really recently, a lot of bands release things and I don't buy them new. A lot of bands who I really like. Because part of me is thinking, I'm not made of money. Who is? You don't have money to spend on everything. And that's one of the reasons why the majority of what I buy is secondhand, because it's so much cheaper. And so the things that I buy new are kind of few and far between and kind of very selected choices. It's not something I just buy on a whim, a $30 CD. Especially in this day and age. And so I see things being released by bands I like a lot. In the last year, for example, or the last year or two, I talked about it the other day, the Enslaved release Heimdall, I really liked a lot. I've listened to that. Probably one of the albums I've listened to the most in the last 6 months on Spotify. Devin Townsend's release over the last 2 years, Puzzle and Snuggles. And also the other one he did, Lightwork. Some other electronic releases by Fakes, Optim, and Rykard, where I want to buy all those things I've just named. I want to buy the physical new CDs of those. But in my mind, I go online to the ordering page of those things when they first kind of think, and I see it. The thing that always puts me off is the shipping. It's like you're paying the price of the CD again, and then some to get it shipped down here. And so I'm always like, I'll wait a while. When I get a little bit more money, or I've got a bit more spending money, I'll get this. And then invariably, when I do get some money to spend, I've got to spend it on something else, like a car battery or whatever other kind of thing that comes up in life. My kid wants to learn Taekwondo or something, so I've got to pay for the fees for that, which is fine. I'm not complaining. That's part of being a father, isn't it? Putting your kids' needs ahead of your own wants. But then what I'm saying is that the chance passes to buy these things. And then what happens is that whatever happens is that the stock depletes, and then you got to try and find these things online to buy them, because you're sure as shit not going to be able to find them in stores in New Zealand, and you find that they're not available anymore, or you've got to go on Discogs and get them for a huge markup, or you'll find them on sometimes you can, if you search around enough, you can find them for an okay price on Amazon or something, but again then you're dealing with shipping. And my point is that kind of you can't buy them unless you're willing to shell out a lot of money. The chance passes and the things aren't available. It just costs. So when I see something in a shop, in a store, I think, okay, maybe the chance won't come again to get this without the shipping. I'm just going to buy it now. And that was why I bought this. $30 without having to pay another $30 or $40 shipping for an extended edition. I just thought, okay, bite the bullet, buy it now. I had the money. It wasn't exactly what I was going there to look for the Enslaved album, or maybe something else that kind of caught my attention. And I got this. So what do I think about it? Well, let's have a look at it there first of all. Folding it out because it's quite of a extensive case around it. So we got this image here, which is I don't know, a king with a bloody crown. It looks like, or maybe he's the Prince of Lies. Sverigets Prince. And then we got this image here. All the 5 members of Opeth on the head, or their heads are on the body of a scorpion. It looks like. Is it a scorpion? Yes, it is a scorpion. Because I guess that's the tail. No, maybe it's a spider. But anyway, I just read an interview and Michael said it's a scorpion. And apparently they had this image before they decided to call it in Cauda Venenum. So, the stingers in the tail was something that a scorpion, scorpion stings in its tail. Oh, there's the tail. So it is a scorpion. If you're not familiar with this iteration of the band, we have Michael Ackerfeld, the singer, main songwriter, guitarist, the only guy who's been there since the start of the band. Frederick Ackerson, lead guitarist. Martin Mendez on bass, who's been there since Still Life, so about, 1999, so it's over 20 years now. Don't know his name, but he's the keyboardist, Joachim. Oh, I think he actually might have left. And Martin Axelrod, he's the drummer, he has left. They now have another drummer from another band, can't remember the band he's from. Okay, I said Martin Axelrod, and the new drummer is called Valtteri Väyrynen. And so Joachim Svalberg, the keyboard, he is still in the band. I thought he had left for some reason, but he hasn't. The new drummer doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so I'm pretty sure I read that he was the drummer from some prog metal band or some kind of power metal band like Symphony X or something like that. I'm sure. Let's see if I can find quickly. Paradise Lost, formerly of Paradise Lost, as well as Alexei Laiho's from Children of Bottom, his side project, Bottom After Midnight. He was in that band as well. He obviously died, Alexei, so that band's no more. So I think he's from Finland. Is he? Valtteri? Anyway, he's not in the band anymore, is my point. Okay, then we fold it out further, and we have the 3 discs with the Modern Bullet, or whatever it's called, imprint, which is the same as if you have the Sorceress CD. It's the same art, whatever, disc covering. Quite 70s looking, in my opinion. It looks like a mushroom. And then in the booklet, what have we got? We've got this kind of little advertisement from Atomic Fire. So what are we advertising? Amorphous' albums. Power Paladin, Out of This World, Mystic Sonata Arctica, I know them. Oh, this looks like some shit on here. At the Movies, Last Christmas, Mystic Circle, Power Paladin. Power Paladin looks like absolutely ultra kind of power fantasy metal, doesn't it? Power Paladin. And then we've got some t-shirts on the back as well. I'm interested in hearing what Power Paladin sounds like. I might have a listen after I finish this. And in the booklet, I flicked through this before. It's not very impressive. So we've got the cover artwork there, which is kind of like a house with the members' silhouettes inside and a horse-drawn cart outside. And then on the back, we got this. It's almost like kind of like a, what do you call that kind of thing? It says Stockholm Lun. But what's those things? Steel? Is that what they're called? Those kind of rock, stone. Anyway, there's the full out images like it's on a demon's tongue. You got a demon with a long tongue, or a devil, and the house is on that. What does that mean? All very 70s prog, isn't it? Which is what Michael's going for. So we got the lyrics with not much else going on. And there's some spoken word little parts throughout the records taken from different things. And it says there's some kids, it sounds some little girls speaking, and they are, in fact, Melinda and Miriam Ackerfeld, which are Michael's daughters. And we've also got Alva Ackerson, which I assume is Frederick's wife, daughter. sister, and a few other people involved. So, 15 minutes of kind of blabbing on about a whole bunch of other shit, but the music itself, what do I think? I think it's a pretty good album. I actually the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy it. As to the English versus Swedish versions, for Svegets Prince, absolutely I prefer the Swedish version. For the other songs, I often feel there's not a huge difference because the way he forms the words and enunciates them within the melody, it kind of, you don't hear a big difference, and unless you're actually actively listening, you can't even really notice the difference between the Swedish and the English in some songs. The reason you can in Svegets Prince is because one big part is in the chorus where he's saying, in the Swedish version he's saying nay, 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 and in English it's no, no, no. And if you listen to that part of the song, I think the elongated nay works a lot better than the no, which has got a harder stop on that kind of vowel O sound, as opposed to A, O. And there's also another part where it sounds like he's singing. It just feels like the Swedish words fit more. The part where he goes, come, I kind of... And the English part, it's like kind of after the first little... actually, I'm not going to go explaining it. I'll just say that there are certain parts where I think it sounds more comfortable in Swedish because apparently he wrote it in Swedish initially. They'd written the music, they were recording, and halfway through the recording process, Michael became a bit worried that the people wouldn't listen to it as much because it was all in Swedish. And so he decided to write an English version as a kind of companion piece. And but I think you can kind of tell that it was written initially in Swedish because it just fits better in parts. Like I said, in other parts you can't really even notice the difference. The other songs are Garden of Earthly Delights. The first song kind of starts off as a kind of like a synthesizer intro. Like I said, Svegets Prince is called Dignity in English. It's not a direct translation. Svegets Prince, like I said, means Prince of Lies, but he thought Prince of Lies sounds too cliche in English, so he just called it Dignity, which I think is a good choice. They do mention dignity in the is it the first, not really, pre-chorus, chorus? I'm not even sure how you break that song up into parts. It's all kind of all over the place. But you hear him say dignity in Swedish, so I think it's a good choice to use that. Heart in Hand, which is Hartet Vet. I'm not going to try and do my Swedish, but the third song, good song. Next of Kin. I'll say Heart in Hand. I'll go back to that. The very end of that, there's this very beautiful kind of folky outro to that song. It's kind of my favorite part of that whole song. It's one of my favorite parts on the whole album, the last kind of 2 minutes of that song. Next of Kin's good. Lovelorn Crime, I really like that song. Minutes Va. Charlatan, it's a good song. Basically, yeah, I'm just going to go through and say, oh, it's a good song, it's a good song. It's a good album. It's a good, solid album with some really great parts. Some parts that I think merge a little bit into the three previous albums, Heritage, Pale Communion, and Sorceress. They sound very kind of... they could have been taken from any of those three other albums. I feel that I like the work that they've done since Heritage, since, people divide their career into, I'd say, three parts, where the first part up to maybe Your Arms, My Hearse, My Arms, Your Hearse, I don't know which way that goes. Then Still Life, Blackwater Park, and Deliverance and Damnation. I don't know, basically. But anyways, certainly since he stopped doing the death metal growls from Heritage onwards, that's seen as a separate kind of prog era. And I like all that music. I know some fans have completely dismissed the band since then and say that's, it's shit. I like what they've done since. But if there's one thing I'd say that I don't like is that it feels like they're kind of just rehashing a lot of the same stuff over and over again, kind of walking over the same ground backwards and forwards across Heritage, Pale Communion, Sorceress, and now this album. They're all good albums. I like the songwriting, but it feels like maybe they're not evolving as much as they were previously. Because if you listen from Orchid through to Ghost Reveries, there's massive evolution jumps. Well, not massive, it's still within the metal paradigm, but you know what I mean. It sounds like quite different. But if you went from Heritage to this album, you'd say, well, that definitely sounds like the same band. It definitely sounds like, not a big change in those 10 years or so, 8-10 years. So is that necessarily a bad thing? Do bands have to be evolving, constantly changing? No, because a lot of bands don't, do they? Some bands like AC/DC or whatever, they release the same album over again their whole career. But maybe we expected Opeth to always be changing and kind of pushing it forward. There are some really beautiful parts of this album, though. And like I said, Opeth is one of those bands where the more you listen to it, the more you get out of it. First time I listened through to this, like on Spotify and stuff, I didn't really think that much of it. Didn't think it was bad, but I certainly didn't think a whole lot about it. But the more I've listened to it a lot since I bought it this week. Every time I listen to it, I kind of get something new and I kind of notice more. So yeah, I'm happy I bought it. I'm happy I have this as part of my collection. I haven't listened to the bonus disc yet, which has got 3 songs: The Mob, Width of Circle, Freedom and Tyranny. I guess they've they've recorded those both in English and Swedish as well. So yeah. So I know as I often do with these videos, I blab about a whole bunch of shit except the music, and then I don't leave that much to actually talk about the music. That's because I don't feel that comfortable describing music in depth because I'm not really a musician. But yeah, overall, I like it. It's good. I'm happy to have it. Good to have both the Swedish and the English versions together because I know you could buy them separately if you just wanted one or the other. Then they release, I think, as both together, and then this is the third release with the bonus disc as well. So yeah, good to have that, I think. So yeah, Opeth and Cauda Venenum. I recommend it. Thanks for watching.